Okay, so I'm going to be doing a VOD review for Daboju. I apologize if I butchered that. It's a common theme. Regardless, I think you play mostly Sig, or all Sig and Winston this game. Um, right? You mentioned that you've been stuck at like Plat 1, or I guess for a few seasons now, which is all right. Since the rank reset, this is pretty decent rank. It's probably well, but that's beside the point, right? So, um, I picked this one to watch because you went 63-8, right? You said everyone else on the enemy team had 30 elims, and this can happen sometimes, right? Unfortunately, uh, usually what happens, right, is whatever team gets the first elim kind of wins the fight sometimes, right? So a lot of times you can have a lot of elims, um, but you can not necessarily saying this is what happened this game, right? But you can get a lot of elims even if you like don't carry fights, right? Like if you're playing Moira, for example, like this is a really obvious example. Like let's just say your Widow just gets one pick every fight and you throw a damage orb and do 200 damage over 4 people, and then like the rest of your team um just randomly picks people off, so everyone on your team has like one elim but you have four or something like that, right? You can end the game with the most elims even though you like really didn't contribute anything. And that happens every single fight. You can end the game with like 60 limbs, and then the rest of your team has like 20 each, something like that. Um, Something to that effect, even though you didn't really contribute anything offensively. Obviously, not implying this would happen in this game, but it's just to suggest that stats always don't matter. Um, but this is really unusual, and it does happen sometimes. You have a really good stat line compared to everyone else in the lobby, and you still lose. It can happen. I will say sometimes your team is it's just worse than the other team. I don't know if I'd say that this round, but for example, I have a video on my channel actually where I haven't done my placements on my main account in a while, and my first game was Diamond 4, and I think I ended the game like 33-1, and the next best person in the lobby was my Widow, like 20-15, um, and I think the entire enemy team was like negative. So yeah, sometimes it's just hard to carry, right? Um, and right, I was, for reference, last time I played, I was almost GM3 in season 10. I finished top 500. I just didn't play much that season, and then I finished top 500 in season 9. Um, so I'm significantly above this lobby, like in 2 entire ranks above this lobby. Granted, I haven't really played much, so if you really want to be pedantic, at worst case you could say I was Master 4, but I was obviously significantly above that lobby skill wise, and it was still I wouldn't say difficult, but like painful. I'd assume, right? Um, my point is, the closer you are to like your peak rank, the harder games you can get to carry, right? And sometimes in these lower ranks, you can be outperforming everyone and still lose, because like right, your team is just kind of trolling, right? If you're playing, let's say, if you're smurfing, right, you go 63-8, and everyone would be negative on the enemy team. It's my point, right? Something like I did, right? You see this in unranked GMs all the time, right? When people are just better, they even if like the stat lines aren't as good, right? I got half your kills or whatever. I'm just controlling the game so much more that the enemy team just has a lesser time of being able to come back. Regardless, right? It's a little beside the point, but just goes to show you that stats don't really mean anything or everything without proper context, right? Um, so I went ahead and watched the entire gameplay. I'd say your primary problem is your positioning. You should be thinking position-wise as tank to play into the strengths of your character first and foremost, and do your best to control choke points, right? You don't want the enemy team to be able to walk through choke points for free. And this is going to look different on every tank. I'll demonstrate this in game. But basically, like on Sigma, you want to spam the choke point, right? And as Winston, you want to be able to get in a position to like zap the choke point. Um, and then as they walk in, wait for them to spread out and try to capitalize on like getting or spamming an isolated target, right? This is going to look different again for every tank, but I guess kind of going to point 2, your target priority needs a bit of work, right? I think you're looking at the tank a little too much, and this is really hindering your gameplay because you give up a lot of positioning because you're wasting time going after the enemy tank. Um, a lot of times, if you have a better target, just ignore the enemy tank, and just you have to trust that you're going to be a better tank than the enemy tank, really. I mean, it's really that simple. If you want to rank up, you just have to put more impact than the enemy tank and punish people's rotations or when they step out of line, right? So I'll demonstrate this in game, and I think once the fight's gotten started, your target priority's sometimes fine, but sometimes you just default to rotating the tank. When you play like Sig or Winston, you don't really want to do that the vast majority of the time. It depends on the matchup. It's a little more nuanced than that, but you're just looking at them too much in general. And I'd say the third thing is your cooldown usage. This is like an ult usage. I'll just get right out of the way. You could have had like 4 or 5 ults on Sigma, and you have like I think 2. You don't use ult one time in your the first 2 points, right? They almost cap, and that's the first time you use your ult. And that's like they almost cap last, I should say, and that's not good, right? You should be pretty much using ult as soon as you get it. Look for some entry pick, or like wait for them to use a cooldown, force out a cooldown, then use it. Get some value out of it, right? You don't want to be sitting on it. And cooldown usage, I'll go through it in the game. This is more like a character specific thing, but you're kind of wasting them a lot, right? So, anyways, start. Okay, actually, I just missed a very important thing by going forward a little too far. So here, right, this is fine. She was a little too far forward. Against Zarya, you don't want to be just chucking random rocks across the map. In general, you don't want to be chucking random rocks across the map. If you're confident in your mechanics that you can one-shot someone with a little bit of team follow-up, you can do that. But against Zarya, don't do it, right? She's not killable by your team right now, and you just pretty much just gave her 40 charge for free. Not quite, but right. So if you see Zarya, right, you can just look at her, see if she uses any bubbles, and just spam her team or something, or spam her, try to force out bubbles, right? So she has to slow down her push. The problem with shooting bubbles, you'll have here the common, I guess, low elo thing is to never shoot Zarya bubbles. That's not the case. If she's out of position, just keep shooting them so she dies as fast as possible. Right, or if you're like playing, there's situations where you definitely want to shoot the bubbles, but just like in these spam battles, don't bother because she's just going to be able to walk up for free anyways, and she's going to be high charged when she actually and have bubbles when she is actually able to commit on your team, right? So, a little more nuance here. I know you're trying to shoot the Mercy. I think you can shoot. Apologize. I think you can shoot off like this thing right here. And they'll probably like bounce here and like bounce back up and explode right about here, right? It's worth a shot, right? Just shooting it over the thing obviously isn't working, right? And I will say in general, as Sigma, you want to be using the bounce shot pretty much if you can't see people, right? Here, you're leaving your shield up for too long. I don't think it's the end of the world because your Bastion was in turret form, I believe, kind of for no reason, right? It's the beginning of the game, but that's okay. But it just kind of gets burnt out. I think the start of this game's okay in general. This is good. This is fine here. I'm not saying much because, there's really not much to say. They're just kind of feeding into you. You can see how much more consistent hitting your rocks are when they're close, right? I mean, it's just a projectile thing. The closer people are, generally speaking, unless you're like inside your character model, it's just easier to hit people. So, but it's an okay fight, Did the same issue, right? Just gave her 20 charge for no reason. Again, ignore. This is kind of like the thing where I want you to punish the rotations, right? Especially Sigma. This is kind of like the poke tank thing. Like, if you're playing Hog, Sig, or Zarya even, they're all kind of like the poke tanks in the game. You really want to punish rotations, right? I think I didn't go far back enough. And what I mean by that is you see the tank walk, right? Don't look at the tank. Look at the Moira that's forced here because she's taking damage, right? If you literally just keep spamming right here, the Moira has to get pocketed by the Ana, which means her front line can't get healed, right? Get healed by the Ana, I should say. Or the Moira has to fade to her team, which means she doesn't have cooldowns, right? You're never going to kill Zarya Sigma if their team is like above bronze, right? Just in a situation like this. Could have tried to rock that guy, right? He just jumped up, right? And this is kind of what I mean. You're looking at the tank too much and just letting them walk in for free. And by letting them walk in for free, I don't mean the tank. I mean the rest of the team. This keeps happening pretty much in every character you play. you can't stop tanks as Sigma, right? You just don't do enough damage. I don't want to say all the time you can't stop tanks as Sigma, but if they just want to walk by you, like what's this 20 charges are you gonna do, right? She just literally ran a point. Her DPS aren't with her, and her Ana isn't with her, right? She can walk the point. She's really low charge, and everyone on your team's out of range from her anyways, right? She literally can't do anything. Maybe she'll get a tech on point, but ideally you'll just literally kill the rest of her team, and she'll just die on point, like in a second anyways. So. And you see the problem with turning around, right? I should have kept reiterating. You should have kept looking at the Genji when he was, trying to fight you up top for no reason, right? If they decide to like walk into a tank with all their cooldowns, when I say all their cooldowns, I mean when the tank has all their cooldowns, they're probably making a mistake, and you gotta punish them for that, right? Like DPS, like this Genji, you could have rocked, shot him, and meleeed him, and he just would have died, right? It's an instant pick. And the problem you see when you turn around for the tank, right? I'm not gonna spend this much time because it's fundamentally the same thing every single time. You just keep making this mistake, right? It's like a positioning target priority thing. You just let everyone else walk in for free, right? If you literally were just holding this choke, for example, or just staying up here and fighting the Genji, you kill the Genji, and now you have a free access to their backline. You can spam the Ana, for example. You can spam the Reaper out, and that way, your team is basically forced, or you're forcing the enemy team to take a 2v4 against your team on point, right? And you would have hypothetically gotten the pick on the Genji. And you see, like, yeah, you kill the Zarya. She kind of trolls, for sure. But the Reaper also blows you up from the back, and you're getting punished from this in some fights when they actually, like, realize that you're just kind of walking, right? It's okay, right? People are just walking too. I would say against Reaper, you always want your shield up if you can, because he gets lifesteal. That's and he does a lot of damage at close range. That's one character you pretty much always want your shield up for, right? Lifesteal is like problematic, right? Same as Malga, right? If he's using his overdrive, I will say if you're having trouble against Malga and Winston, swap Sig. He's the best answer to Malga in the game, except for mirroring Malga. Diva can work sometimes, so can Zarya. But Sig is way more consistent because he can just really easily block all the value from his overdrive. Not the greatest grasp there. Let's not go with that before. I will say if Reaper has his Wraith, I want to use a rock on him, right? This is more of what you want to be doing here, right? You see, you're keeping these people isolated from helping the Rhine, and you just heard the Rhine lose his shield, and they're making the same exact mistake again, right? They're immediately charging the point into a Bastion Sojourn. They're getting Mercy pocketed and an Ana, right? They're just going to explode. So what you should be doing is continually holding off their backline. So again, I wouldn't rock Rhine in particular because he can reactively shield your rock literally every time, because shield has 0 startup on its like cast time or whatever, and rock takes like an entire second to throw, right? The only exception is if you see him charging you and you need to like not get pinned, use your rock to stop him from pinning you, even though he'll be able to shoot it, right? Here, you just saw 2 of them die. What you should be doing is holding your grasp and just walking into this Reaper. He's not going to kill your team, but you'll be able to follow him, and you're not in any danger of dying because your team is completely alive and fairly healthy. So, kind of no reason to be backing up here. It's not the end of the world, but I'm sure you can imagine there's a. Oh, this is fine too. There's a chance your Bastion dies to the Genji. Not the greatest rock. They're already out of LOS. It's fair to wait. You should have shielded like your walkway so you can't get lifesteal when your Ana hits a nade, so not a big deal. So just know there's a Genji behind, and it's the same concept, right? If they're just one person behind, you gotta think about stopping the rest of the team from walking forward. So here, right, if they're on a rush comp and you're like having trouble like spamming them as they walk in, you can play over here, right? You're fairly safe up here. And if their Rhine decides to walk in and ignore you, well, now you can just spam this doorway, spam the Moira, spam the Kiri, right? I just let him walk. I mean, he's literally walked in like 4 times in a row, and he's lost every fight doing the exact same thing, right? Just let him keep doing it, but punish his team better every time. I don't think dropping the point is like the worst thing ever. But this is a mistake here, right? You see, there's a better target. There's two better targets in your team, right? Okay, the Genji deflected, he's way far away. Okay, he can't do anything. He can't commit without deflect anyways. Shoot the Mara or shoot the Kiri, right? You can't like stop this Ryan from walking forward. Even with your dude, right? I know you rotate to your Bastion, but what do you need a shield here for, right? The thing goes through shield, and you shielded before, but that's not the point. But like Ryan can't shoot anyways, so like, this doesn't do anything, right? What you want to do when Ryan walks is open up an angle for your team, right? This is kind of what I was talking about earlier. Sig, Zarya, and Hog, they're all like poke tanks, and they need to force angles, or they're gonna lose, right? Because your stats just aren't good enough if the enemy team just walks into you to just play like grouped up with your team. What you want to do is force an angle from the Ryan, like play over here. You see, you're perfectly safe over here, and now you can shoot the Ryan behind his shield, or you can shoot his backline, or you can shoot the Reaper if you heard him teleport in or saw him teleport in or something, right? But rotating here, this is like a really big positional problem, right? Don't rotate to like block your team. You beat people with tanks by forcing angles, especially poke tanks, right? Like there's tanks I mentioned, right? So here, your team should have ulted, but it's okay to lose. You could have ulted earlier, right? You could have, one thing with Sig ult, right? I think it's probably the best tank ult in the game because you can use it, right? Hit Q, and you have like 6 or 8 seconds to actually like use it on someone, right? So you can use it, and people use their cooldowns just instinctively, right? Like Moira will fade, especially in low ranks, Kiri teleport or something for no reason. Because they have like a grace period at the very beginning of Flux, but they can use it, right? But low rank people will just use them instinctively, and you can see where they land and just Flux them afterwards and they die, right? So something to keep in mind. You could have used it like at the beginning of the fight when they were walking, when the Ryan was walking, for example. Here I probably would have just died to point, just your entire team's dead. You're not going to be able to win a 2v5 with the Mercy, right? She doesn't do anything, so. Even with Flux, you can't win that. Again, skip forward a little bit too much. Go back a little bit. This is fine here, right? Against Ryan, take the wide angle, right? So you can play all the way out here. So he has a harder time charging on you, right? And when you force an angle out here, you can walk all the way over here and spam the people that are preventing your DPS from walking forward, right? And you're perfectly safe, because if the Ryan pins you, you just kite this way. You're still in LOS of your Ana, and now the Ryan can get shot by your entire team from behind, right? He can only shield one angle at a time. So by like walking out continuously and forcing an angle, you're safer. Unironically, yeah, you're safer, and you have an easier shot on the people high ground, right? But this is okay, you're still walking. But now you see, this is where you don't want a Ryan to be, right? And if you just kind of immediately force this angle when you saw him backing up, you probably could have killed the Reaper or Genji, right? And you'd have an angle right now, because Genji can only deflect in front of him, or 180 degrees or whatever it is. He can't deflect behind him. And if the Ryan charged you, right? One, he can't like charge like this, and then continuous charge this way. If he charges, he'll like stop right here, right? And you'll be able to like kite up here as he does that, and like jump up here, shoot this guy. Right? You have a lot of options to kite him, and then if he does this, like he's just trolling, because the Bastion just shoots him in the back and blows him up, right? So. But now you're getting swung on by the Ryan. His numbers up close to his boat. So. I think it's okay to stop card. So just kill the tank. It's good. It's fine here, right? Get the Reaper out of here. Sky hide. Okay, so when you set up, right, against their comp, you have to let them walk, right? Against Ryan, he's got to give space and then force an angle, kind of like I was explaining earlier. And sitting on card's not the way to do it, right? If the Ryan really wanted to, he could like really make your life hard by just rolling out here and just swinging on you here, or like rolling out here, taking this angle and forcing you like really far away, right? What you want to do is set up like high ground somewhere, or like some long angle where you can shoot the backline as they walk and fight as they walk. Again, I wouldn't just rock just main against Ryan. Just might as well just back and shoot a shield if you're stuck in this position. You still have Flux here, right? You could punish them if you see them use Suzu or something, or their Moira fades, you can definitely ult. This is the problem with playing lower, they have a lot of ways to play. You see, because you weren't positioned properly, they're just able to walk in all over the place because you're not denying any angles, right? Because you're playing main with your entire team, they're just flooding into you because their tank's numbers are better than yours. I mean, if he just walks forward, like, he has a better shield, he has armor, and he has more health, so they can afford to do that, right? So you really should be like set up, for example, here or something in this building here, or like over here, right? So when they get in this area, they have a really hard time doing anything because your team can take all these angles, right? And they just kind of like get split up and die. Here, obviously, you should have shielded that. It's okay. That mistake isn't the end of the world. I think the big mistake is your positioning wasn't good at the start of the fight, and you just didn't ult again. Right? You could have probably had another ult if you just used it on the first point. Here, it's impossible to touch card. Yeah. I think it's okay to be playing this far forward, but you have to keep in mind when their DPS get back, you have to back. This guy just trolls, runs into your team. Here, I'd be peeking with the Bastion as a turret form. It's okay. It's good. Here, their tank's back. They swapped to Zarya, so you can actually play close. If you're confident with your team, right? Here, withdraw your shield, it's not doing anything. Against Zarya, you can actually brawl Zarya's Sigma, right? If she just walks in like this at low charge and no bubbles, you can just put a shield and like shield dance and just run her over, especially when you have a Bastion, right? She's probably gonna die here. Get another opportunity to ult. You can ult Zarya right now. They just Suzu'd, right? Just ult her in this corner so she gets LOS from the dude. I don't think it's like the best ult in the world, but they already committed the one ult, right? And if like she just gets pocketed by both her supports, she's gonna live because your Bastion's out of turret form. This is an opportunity to ult, right? She's stuck in the corner, but she's just gonna live now because she's double pocketed. You can't chase any longer. And now you don't want to be here, right? You burned all your resources and got no kills. You have to take fights against this Zarya faster. And because you're playing too far forward, like this is not a good nano. Because they're able to still walk forward until you're tired back. Just end up dying anyways, so. Really, once you saw the Zarya like overextend like that, you needed the kill. And you probably shouldn't have been playing there in the first place because their spawn's so close, right? It's kind of something I admitted, but like it's not the end of the world. It's a good shield, you know, don't let your dude die. I know the Bastion kind of forced you to play on low ground, so obviously it's not great. Withdraw your shield, it's not doing anything, right? It's an okay flex here, right? Isolate their Zarya. Right, your shield was still up. If you get your shield sooner, you wouldn't have been in such a risky position dying there. That's okay. Shooting the Reaper's fine. Here, since, you know, you have downtime, the Reaper got out, you should be rotating high ground, right? You can walk in through here. If you didn't know, you can walk in through here and it sends you up here. You don't want to be set up a low ground. If your Sojourn's over here, for example, you could be playing this spam angle here and giving them a hard time walking in. Because if they just walk low ground, I'm sure you see the problem. It's almost like first, if they walk low ground, like 5 stack low ground, you just rotate here. Your Bastion rotates behind or something. Not to say that they're necessarily going to do that. And your Sojourn's already high ground, right? So they're just like in a giant crossfire and just explode, right? If they just run card, they're going to lose. So they have to clear up high ground. Now this is not what you want to do. Because now they're able just to walk on you and you don't want them to just run on you. No reason to be like contesting cart when the game isn't like about to cap out. And I will say, because you're not top, right? The Reaper probably just teleports on your Sojourn. She probably shouldn't have died there. I don't know why she died with a Mercy Pocket, but that's okay. But because you don't play high ground, they're able just to take this angle for free and just run on your Sojourn and kill her, right? So by playing up there, you just kind of do two things. It's okay, get the Zarya. Good kills. Here, right, against Reaper, just throw up the shield so he can't get lifesteal. It's fine though. It's fine, right? Another opportunity to go high here. Right, no reason to contest this be sitting on cart to start with, right? Especially Sig, right? You don't do like huge bursts of damage without your rock. So you really need to spam them as they come in, waste their cooldowns, and when they have no cooldowns, then you can contest card and just kill them when you have a cooldown advantage, right? So you're just letting them in for free because your angles from here are so bad. I'm sure you can see in replay, like look how you can't see anything. They just walk in for free. Sure, you see, if you can see, if you're again, I'll bring it up. If you're up here, the Zarya can have walked in for free, and if she was able to walk in somehow, you could actually have a good angle to like shield or like grasp this grab on your team. But she wouldn't have been able to like just walk into your team and grab them for free like that in the first place, right? It's fine. Withdraw your shield, right? If you withdrew your shield and you can put it up to fight the Reaper, it kind of costs you there because you're just giving him a ton of lifesteal and he just lives, right? You had a long time to withdraw your shield. I think you swap Winston for the touch. It's fine. You know, against their comp, maybe D.Va might be a little better, but it's not that in the world. As long as you get back fast, it doesn't really matter. It's fine, right? Not much to say. Okay, skipping forward a bit. Swap to Winston. I think Winston's pretty good in offense in this map. I haven't really talked about it much, but it's Winston, right? You know, they have an Orisa. She's not really a spam tank, but she can spam you if you just sit in the same spot. No reason to really be peeking her. Like, she does a lot more spam damage than you. You should be, like, walking this way or something. You're trying to get out of her LOS as soon as possible so you don't take as much damage on the entry, right? Kind of no reason to be peeking the spam tanks as Winston. Like, yeah, you do a little bit of zap damage, but you can see, like, you did, like, 50 damage, and you just took, like, 150 damage. Right? Kind of no reason. This is okay because there are Reapers on the floor, so it's pretty safe as long as you don't get trapped. Their backline's really bad too. Here against Mercy, right, you should just be shooting her to see when she uses her Guardian Angel and then jumping after her when she uses her Guardian Angel. It's kind of the cooldown thing on Winston, right? If you're already closest to people and you can just walk to them, don't use your cooldowns. Wait for them to use their cooldowns and then punish them for using them if they use them in a bad spot, right? You know, obviously if they don't have mobility, not that big of a deal. Unfortunately, you probably should have seen that trap there. That's fine. Your entire team's on cap. Okay, if your entire team's on cap, I'd be looking to jump up here to see if they try to get a recontest, right? Obviously, you can't stop a Reaper from walking in 1v1 against you, but you can zap him and see that he's actually walking and like ping him for your team or something, right? If you're already 5 stacking cap, there's like no reason to be sitting on it yourself. But honestly, they can't get a good test anywhere, so this is good, right? It's good. Yep. Just keep playing the choke point here, right? No need to even jump in. Literally all you have to do is just sit around this corner, jiggle peek the corner, keep zapping, wait for your bubble so you just can't get lifesteal, right? I know he didn't have Wraith, but you see, you just got blown up by the cast. You can see how effective just cutting off the ball from his supports. When I say supports, I don't literally mean the supports necessarily. I mean just from any follow-up, right? If you just play this corner, his team can't peek and like help the ball get any damage. The ball is going to lose a 4v1 since your positioning is better, right? Your team can take any angle they want, but the enemy team, if they want to have help the ball, just have to flood in this way. Are also going to be too slow, right? And you can just literally sit here and zap this corner, and they'll never get a free engage, right? Just by, I mean, literally doing nothing. Like it's not the flash or anything, but you get value by just being in a better spot than the ball. And I think you mentioned you lose the ball in Doom a lot. It's the same thing, right? Against, especially on Winston, right? You're like horrible at chasing tanks. If he's not like feeding in the middle of your team like really early, or like if it's not a 1v5, just ignore that tank like 99% of the time. Here, I wouldn't be just sitting on the floor, right? You could be jumping, for example, up here. You know, taking this space, the cast can't swing up here and start shooting your team. You're still in LOS of your Ana, or you could be jumping, for example, up here, you know, something like this, or jumping over here. denying this high ground, for example, and if you start getting shot, you can back up here for a second, right? Kind of throw down a shield so you can't get like farmed or whatever and get healed by your Ana. You know, you have options, right? Oops. But sitting low ground, just eating spam is like, you know, not the play. Take high ground. This dude here. So you already forced him off high ground, right? I mean, you're still getting value. You see, you're still getting value by forcing them all to look at you. There's no reason to be taking this much apart, right? That's one thing. Once you peek at them and see that they're looking at you, just don't even look at them, right? I mean, I want to say don't look at them, but don't continuously peek them, so you don't take random spam. It's fine. This guy comes into you. For the whatever Yari, it's fine. Just find a shield here so she can't get killed by her pylon, right? Reaper's still around. I think it's a fine jump. Here, just play a little bit better cover so the Reaper can't farm you as easily. It's fine to shoot the Reaper here, just get him off your team. Here, your Ana's dead, so I'd be slow to disengage, right? You don't want to find yourself next to a Reaper, just Winston. Go bubble. Okay, this DPS kind of pop off, it's good. This is fine, just keep going in, right? 2 down, 1 down, 2 minutes respawn. I think it's okay to ult. It's not the greatest. If you didn't eat all that spam from Reaper, you needed to ult, right? Here, I think it's useless to jump into their spawn because you know they have a Reaper and you know he just spawned, right? Reaper's like not a good target for you to jump if he has his cooldowns because worst case for him, he just fades back to his team and gets healed. Worst case for you, you get farmed and you just give up a ton of space. You can literally just sit up here, right? Same thing as Sigma, right? But you wait for them to like walk through choke and punish their rotations, right? Like if the Reaper, like for example, like just teleports on your team and it leaves your Moira behind, okay, and the Moira walks in, okay, that's a free engage for you. But you're perfectly safe if you just sit high ground against your team, right? For now. Here, since you blow your shield because you get farmed, the Moira just gets a ton of lifesteal. She's not really dangerous against you unless you're in a situation like this, right? You kind of mess up and blow a lot of your resources. But I will say in the future, right, if you see a Moira, just shield her so she can't get lifesteal. And you see you're forcing your Mercy to heal you because you made a mistake by jumping into the Reaper early on and blew all your resources, right? But Mercy really wants to be like damage boosting your teammates so they can deal with the ball more easily, right? So just taking unnecessary damage because your positioning decisions weren't like the best. This is forcing your team not to be able to kill the balls easily, right? Can you jump here without a lot of health? If you don't have armor, don't jump in. Like, it's a general rule. That guy shouldn't have died. Again, ignore the ball. I'll show you here. This is a really good example, I think. Actually, no, this isn't it. I'll show you later. Because your Mercy and Genji are in, but imagine if you just ignored the ball, right? He's not gonna kill your Ana at like such low amount of health, and you can't kill him anyways. You do so low damage. But you want to be helping your guys just kill the rest of the team regardless. So let's say even if the ball kills your Ana, no big problem. You just help your Valk, Mercy, and Genji kill the rest of the team, and then your Mercy can come back and revive your Ana, right? If you're just at the front line, just getting the best trades you can with your resources, you'll win. It's good here, right? Yep, this is fine. Doesn't look like you do anything, but you can see you're denying the ball from getting any healing, so you can't just sit on cart and constantly harass whoever's pushing cart. I'll say their DPS aren't getting any help either. It's fine, right? Don't let her get lifesteal. Here, you should be peeking this way to see if she made a mistake in fading in a bad spot. If not, right, you can just keep holding this corner, right? No reason to back up. Not quite yet. You know, you still bubble. Okay, I think this is it here. Yeah, you come back and shoot the ball, but your damage is so low. And look what happens. Now these people are able to swing the choke for free because you're not contesting, right? You don't literally need to be right here, but you can be like up here, for example, or on this side of the choke to set up an off angle for your team, right? Because the Reaper isn't back quite yet. He's still respawning, so you can still afford to hold close. But by jumping behind for the ball, yeah, you get the kill. But your Echo would have gotten that anyways, and now look at the enemy team, right? The Cass is peeking the corner. He's getting pocketed by the Yari Mercy, or not Mercy, whatever, Moira. and he's just able to stop your team from walking forward. Now they take space, right? Imagine if you're just sitting in this choke, permanently zapping them. They can't just walk in and just ult in a favorable position for free if you're just here in the first place, denying them from being able to walk forward, right? So just by going back and shooting the ball and not a 5v1, you let them walk and get a ton of ult value, right? And now they're able just to go wherever they want, right? You didn't punish them, and you didn't see weren't in position to see the rotations through choke, so now they're able to rotate wherever they want for free. You get primal force in the bad spot. You primal to stay alive, which is what you want to use primal for, but you want to use it when cooldowns have already been depleted, right? Which didn't happen before. And to get kills, obviously. Here, don't even peek, right? Just let yourself get healed. Especially with the DPS passive, just wait till you're full. No reason to keep peeking, right? You have a bad habit of trying to go right now. But in higher ranks, if you jump right now, and I think you're about to jump, right? If you jump right now, you're just gonna instantly die. Like this cast is gonna double headshot you, and you're just gonna die to any other damage, right? Even though you shield's a little late, you could easily die there, right? No reason just not to be like a half a second more patient. This is fine. I think this is okay. I'd rather you be looking to see where they're scattering from your blade. And seeing if any cooldowns are forced, right? Because they're just gonna before you jump in, right? Because you don't want to be sitting here. I mean, I think it's a good idea that you jump in after he shouted, which is good, but he still can farm. That's a lot of damage. So. You gotta do your best to like stay away from him as much as you can. But it's okay. You still make them the tank look at you. It just lets your team walk forward for free. So I'm gonna skip forward a little bit here. This is fine. I don't think there's a lot of value crouching this one. Here I'd be shielding. One, you don't want this guy to farm you, because he's going to get green health if he just shoots you while you're on fire. And two, your Echo can really easily blow up Malga, right? Echo does a ton of damage, especially when she's mercy boosted. If you just prevent this guy from farming you heal-wise, right? Your Echo can really blow him up and allows her to keep fighting, right? You see, you eat a ton of damage. One, you're playing out of LOS of your Ana, right? She's on cart. And when you're playing here, right, she can't see you, but if you play here, she can see you. And two, you're just face tanking this guy without like stopping him from blowing up, right? It's okay, you drop, you have no choice. You notice this guy's alone, which is good, right? You saw the Reaper teleport upper, you saw the tank was upper. You see, because you burned all your resources prior, by resources I mean HP, and you use shield way too late to stay alive rather than proactively, right? You almost die for this engage on this cast, right? But if you just shielded like immediately when you saw the Malga peek the corner, right, and stayed in LOS of your Ana so you don't get farmed. One, right, you may have been able to farm the Malga and just get an entry pick on his backline from here. Or two, right, let's say they force you out anyways, you'd be a full HP when you die at the cast, and you wouldn't be in danger of dying here and forcing out resources for your sequence down, right? Like, I'm sure you can see this nano isn't the greatest. You still get good value out of it, right? Just let's get teleport away, chase him, right? There's no wraith, so it's a good chase. It's fine, right? Kind of a little close. I'm sure you can see if your health management was a bit better, that wouldn't have been nearly as close. Here, right, against their comp, you don't know what their tank's on. If their tank's on Malga, right, you don't want to be this close to choke, right? One, you're LOSing. If they're on like a low damage comp that you can farm, sure, you can do this. But one, you're LOSing your Ana, right? Your Ana's playing on cart, and by playing here, you can't get healed. But if you literally just sit here, you can get healed. And two, you know they've been on Reaper pretty much all game. I think literally all game, actually. So he's just gonna farm you, right? And if they had a Malga, he can charge in, stun you, and just insta kill you, right? Because they changed it so you, well, I guess you can see they swap, but they swapped to Thief or something. But I'm sure you can see if you just set up like, I don't know, here for example, you know, up top, right? You know, something like this where you're not just face stuffing them and choke against a Reaper. You can see where they're walking in and just punish them. Like let's say like their Reaper goes left. and their Yari goes top, okay, well now you can jump on the Yari for free or something, right? It's conceptually what should be happening. It's not the end of the world, right? You get out, you're just gonna force your bubble. I'm sure you can see, right? If you didn't get your bubble forced, you'd be able to bubble this Reaper and like just force him out way more easily. So he can't get lifesteal, and I hit some good nades, so. You see, like, little mistakes like that are messing up your HP and forcing you to drain more resources from your teammates and get scared into using them. Here, once you see the cast died, I don't even think it's necessary to ult. You're up 2, right? You just killed both their DPS, and you're still at 300 health there, right? You're not in any danger of dying because you almost have jump. If you get low, you can literally just jump up here, right? Or jump back to your team even, just land on the Winston, shoot them. I think it's safer to jump up here. But as long as you don't die, like, you shouldn't be losing this fight. And there's no need to ult because your team has such a big number advantage, right? I actually don't know how their Winston didn't die there. No way he had primal. Yeah, I was about to say. Let me see how he doesn't die. Okay, he just didn't get shot for some reason. Okay, it happens sometimes, right? You see, if you had primal, like, for now, you'd be in a much better spot. Not necessarily right now, but for, like, the next upcoming fight. Right? Now you don't have it, so you can't sustain yourself. Didn't mention, I guess you wasted shield a little earlier, too. Not that before. I was actually sure what you saw. Okay, I mean, helps you Genji get the kill, so she can't lifesteal. I mean, she died at the same time you used it, so maybe you could have gotten away with not using it. But I think protecting Genji there is okay. Whatever. Nothing. Let's move forward a bit here. Or you see Bastion's top. So please, I think you can jump top here and instantly die. Yeah, obviously try not to do this as much as possible. So yeah, if you know they have all their cooldowns, obviously this is like suicide. Really, what you should be doing, if you see Bastion top left, just jump up here, right? You can still kind of see where they are from over here. If they start shooting you, you just do this. You still can get healed by your Ana. You can walk up this way, take a wider angle, right? If they start shooting you again, right, you can just go behind here, and if they let you pass free, you go over here. And if they start splitting up, right, just wait for ults from your team, right? They're going to use them. And see what they, like, I mean, look at this nade. Look at this nade here, right? If you just played your life and didn't jump into them, you would have just immediately won the game. Because you nanobladed, and you can just jump in too, and just bubble, and you just won't die. Even if you die, you just get res, and you and your damage and your Genji will just kill their entire team. Right, so. Sure, it's a feed, but it's a really bad time to feed, right? There's no reason to do it. Okay, I guess you get res anyways. But no reason to die, right? If you committed with your Genji, you would have killed their entire team besides their Winston, right? But since you don't commit with your Genji and you die early, the supports are able to escape. This is fine here. I don't think it's ideal. You can't kill Moira alone. When she coalesces, she literally heals as much damage as you deal. You're just taking damage for no reason, honestly. But you're keeping her distracted. No, she shouldn't really be distracted from this, but that's okay. Obviously a little chaotic fight. At this point, it's going to be a tough win. If you played a little bit better, like prior to this scenario, like I explained, right, this would be much closer. Unfortunately, died with primal. Right. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, last fight you kind of threw by like dying really early and jumping into their Bastion for no reason and not being able to like get the kills from the enemy. But I'm sure you can see you had a lot of other opportunities, like here obviously you can't win this one, right? But you had a ton of opportunities where you could have won without putting yourself in this position, right? So, okay, I'll reiterate, right? I think your positioning is probably your number one problem right now. Right, you got to play angles from your team and I guess punish people for their rotations, right? That's generally how it goes, and I've kind of demonstrated how to do that. It's going to look different in every character, and this is mostly important, especially for poke tanks, right? Like Sig Hog Zarya, like I mentioned, right? But it still applies to pretty much every tank, right? It depends on the matchup too. So you have to look into that yourself, right? But you don't want to be, I guess, to segue into point two, you're looking at the enemy tank too much, right? You just have to let them do their thing and just know that you have better positioning and you draw less resources from your team through your positioning because you don't take as much damage, right? You force better angles or whatever. Um, deny more positioning from the enemies that they're gonna feed and you're not, right? So that's kind of how it works. And I guess three, we went over like ult usage, right? You didn't use it nearly enough on defense. It was much better on offense, but then cooldowns, right, could still use a lot of work. I hope this helps.